Hello, and here we are in Giants Editor. I wasn't going to do this, but decided I'd change my mind, and yeah, I'm going to do it now, so I do that sometimes. I'm going to actually put down some lucerne or alfalfa into a field here. I've taken the barley or wheat or whatever was in this field and removed it. I like this field specifically for the demonstration. The other one over there is slightly too big, and this one's quite close to the farm, so it'll work really well. And you actually do start on court farms with this as an owned field, so that's quite good as well. I've already started here, as you can see, and I've chosen the second fully growth stage with channels 5 and 6. I've got my foliage layer of lucerne selected, and I'm using the terrain foliage paint mode to put down that particular texture or foliage channel. Using my left mouse button, I'm just going to literally paint it on the field. Coming up as close as I feel I want to the edge of the field here, not necessarily all the way up to the edge. When I'm putting down a fruit type on a field, I tend not to get too over the edge there. Don't really see the point. If you do by mistake, doesn't really matter. You can either leave it or delete it, but bear in mind that if you do go over and you then remove it by using the right mouse button, you will actually delete any other foliage underneath it. So in this particular case, grass. So if I go over a little bit too much and then choose to remove it, I will not only remove the lucerne, I will remove the grass as well. So then I'll have to repaint the grass down as well as the lucerne. So just be a little bit careful with that. So what I'm going to do is go around the edges here first of all, because I need to be zoomed in to be able to do that. And then once I've got that to a comfortable setup, I will make my brush a bit bigger and then come out and do the whole center in one foul swoop sort of thing. But the edges I tend to be a bit more zoomed in, so I can get it a little bit tidier and tighter on the edges here without, as I said, going over. I'm not sure quite why, but the engine doesn't necessarily paint specifically in the area of the brush. I think it's to do with the way that the ground is laid out within the actual Giants engine, or perhaps it's just something in Giants Editor. So I tend to sort of start here and then work towards the edge. Don't start at the edge directly, because you may find that by doing that, the line of the brush, especially if you're using a square brush like I am here, doesn't necessarily match the edge of the field, so it will be a little bit trickier to finesse the edges there. So starting out further in the field and then working out towards the edge, you have a little bit more control of what you're going to do with the brush here. Whoops. Okay, so we'll just go along this top edge now. Unfortunately, there's not much more I can speak about while I'm doing this, so apologies if I go a little bit quiet. You may want to just skip past this bit, entirely up to you. Like I said, I wasn't actually going to do this, and then I thought, well, somebody actually might want to see how this bit is actually done. If you haven't done it before, this may help you out. Okay, like I said, I'm now going to switch over to the round brush here, just so that I can get around this bit of here, like so. And then once I come back down to the straight edges here, I can switch back over to my square brush, like so. There might be a little bit of barley still left there, so I'll just erase that by overwriting it. And I do that by having Erase Unmasked ticked. If you untick that, I believe it will leave whatever is there or on the map. It won't erase it as you go over with the new fruit. Okay, so now that we've got our outline, I can zoom right out. And I can change brush size to something a bit bigger. Like so. Might be a couple of areas which have been missed there, but just fill those in. And there we are. So, now that I've done that, I can go ahead and save, and I'll zip this up, put it into the mod folder, and then we'll go in game and I'll get some machinery and we'll have a bit of a play around and see what we can do with this particular fruit type. Obviously each different fruit type you intend to put into a map will have a different purpose. This one obviously you wouldn't harvest with intention of getting a grain. It's mainly just to use as a cover crop to then, with the green fertilizer mod, you can then use it to plough or cultivate to fertilize your field, or you can mow it with the multi-mow mod to get grass in this particular case, because that's what it's been set up to have as the substandard fruit, if you like, which would be grass. And you can then bale it, pick it up with the loading wagon, whatever else. But for the most part I tend to use this for chaff. I find it works much better than corn. Your returns are much higher, so that would be the purpose for what I would use it for anyway. But as I say, there are a few other different reasons, and honestly I think it actually looks quite nice once it's all grown up in a field like so in game. Just breaks up a map, breaks up a field, so you just haven't got the standard sort of look at wheat, barley, corn and that sort of stuff. Just gives it a little bit of an edge, a bit of a different type of fruit, you know, can add something to a map. Same with Clee. Anyway, I'll get it all zipped up, put it in a folder, in the mods folder, and we'll get in game, and as I say, we'll have a look and see what we can do. So I shall see you shortly in game. So here we are back in game now, and as you can see I've got some machinery I've just got over here. So with the multi-mower mod installed, I'm going to just show you now that you can actually mow this or cut this Luzerne alfalfa, and then pick it up. Obviously I'm going to get some grass in amongst all of it as well, but that's fine. So we'll just go through this. Now probably what I would do is exactly what I'm doing here really. I would chaff this field, but before I did that I would give myself an edge, or cut myself an edge with the mower here, just to make it somewhat easier for the automated machinery. Obviously in single player I would use either hired worker or course play with the harvester for the chaff, and then perhaps follow along with a loading wagon So by cutting my path, or my header if you like, around the my headland around the field here with the mower, it just gives me a little bit of a breathing room with the rest of the equipment, and I can then pick up this and get some grass from it at the same time. And obviously this particular map has got plenty of grass fields, but just saves me wasting it, and also, you know, as I said, just gives the automated machinery with the hired worker or the with courseplay a little bit more headroom to maneuver around on the field without constantly getting stuck and driving into the hedges. So what I'll do is I'll just go around the edge of the field here, and I'm just going to show you then. I'll pick it up with the loading wagon first. I might not get all of it, but it's just to demonstrate what you would see from this particular fruit type. As I said before, you know, this is specific to this fruit type, but any other fruit type that you're adding in would work similarly, but just different machinery and different ways of harvesting it and whatever. But I'm just going to go around the edge of the field here and pick up or cut down this, mow down this Luzerne alfalfa, and then we'll grab one of the loading wagons and pick it up with that. And then what I'll do is, I won't get it all with the loading wagon, I'll switch over to the baling, the round baler, and I'll pick it up with the round baler, just so you can see what you would get from that there as well. I really like this crop. I think, as I said before, it just adds something to a map, breaks up that the norm, I suppose, really. You know, you see loads of different, you know, your generic sort of fruits, wheat, barley, corn, even when you're coming down to soybean and stuff like that. I think that this just breaks it up a little bit and gives you something else to do other than just constantly harvest with you know, your combine harvester for grain. Okay, so we're almost there with this headland, if you like. I'm not doing a very good job, I must admit, but hey ho. Right, so we're done there. So I'll shut all this off, move this to one side. Okay, and I'll jump into one of my case tractors here and just go around with the loading wagon here and pick up the what will be grass. Because that's what it's set up to, as you can see there in the HUD down in the corner here, grass windrow. You possibly could set that up slightly differently with your multi-fruit module, so you could, you know, pick up perhaps hay if you wanted to get creative, maybe change it so that it picks up and automatically changes to silage or TMR or something like that. How realistic that is, well, you know, I'm not sure, but when you're dealing with most of these sorts of things now in Farming Simulator, a lot of it isn't specifically realistic. It's how you play it into your game, really, I suppose. I think that's enough. You can see what I mean. You know, you get the idea. So we you know, getting grass clearly. So I'll switch this off and get on out of here with this, so it's not in my way. I've got crop destruction turned off just for this, so that because I'm going to be driving around all over the place, I didn't want to have it on and waste half the crop on the demonstration, just driving across the fields like. Okay, so we'll move this one over here like so, switch that off, and I'll go over into my Deutz here, and we'll just show you what, or I'll just show you what you get with the baler. So we'll unfold this, lower it down, switch it on, and then we go. And there you go. As you can see there, we are actually getting a Luzerne windrow. Like so. So what I'll do here is I'll just switch that off, and I'll plonk the bail over to the side here so it doesn't get in the way of everything. And there we are. So that's that. So you can see that that all works, and you get, you know, the correct HUD and everything else. So that's fine. So we'll just switch that off there. And then lastly, what I'm going to do is set up my New Holland harvester here for chaff. So we'll go ahead and start this up. And I'll just set this up on hired worker for now, that's fine. What I will do is, sometimes I find with hired worker, if you don't actually cut into it first and then switch on hired worker, he tends to not realise it's a different field or some stupid, I don't know what's going on with it at the moment. I've had it a few times now when I've used one of these things for chaff. It gets a little bit confused and starts ploughing off across the field and not staying in the actual field that you want it to be in. It will end up somewhere across the map in the middle of nowhere. So I'm just going to cut in a little bit like so, and then switch on the hired worker. So then we'll go over to our other case here with the empty loading wagon, and we'll just come in by the side of the New Holland here and get some chaff. So as you can see, that's really pumping it through there quite well. I think, you know, in my experience, in all the corn chaff I've done, this particular fruit type, the way it is set up, gives me a much higher return on chaff than corn does, and it doesn't cost as much to actually put down on the map in the first place. So for me, that's a definite benefit. May not be, you know, what you want to get into, but then this is just really a tutorial demonstration on how to add an additional fruit. It's not specific, or in this particular case it is specific to Luzerne in the tutorial, but it may guide you in how to add in other different additional fruits, or at least that's my hope anyway. I think what I'll do there is I'm going to switch that off there, like so. We'll shut that down. And then lastly, what I want to do is go and grab a cultivator and just give a small demonstration on how that works. I'm just trying to think what I've got on this map already. What I will do here, I think I'll just go in and buy one. And I'll just reset that to the farm, and then I'll go and pick it up. It's fine. And then lastly, I just want to show you, by actually cultivating this into the ground, you will fertilise the field. So that's where the cover crop purposes come into it. You're not constantly planting the same or seeding the same fruit type into the same field over and over again. So you're breaking it up by planting in the Luzerne or alfalfa, and then instead of wasting it, I mean, if you're not going to mow it or chaff it, you're not going to waste it by just cultivating or ploughing it. If you've got the green fertilizer mod installed, because you will actually then be able to use it to fertilize your field. So it's just an alternative to actually spraying your field with fertilizer. Again, this is why I chose this field to do it in, because it's close to the farm and close to the reset point, so I don't have to drive that far to get any machinery that I forgot to buy before I started the video. Okay, so we'll open this up here like so and lower it down. With any luck, this will give me what I require, and there we go. I'm pretty sure that that is showing up as fertilized, because you can see the difference there where I actually, don't know if you can see that, I can't show you with the cursor very easily, but there's a definite difference between the textures of the cultivated field there. Over here where I've actually still got the Luzerne which I'm cultivating in, and then on the edge here where it was chaffed, it's a lighter colour, so it's definitely fertilising the field in that sense there. What I'll do is I'll just come around and do a larger stretch next to it without any in it, just to try and compare the two together, give you a better idea of what's going on, hopefully. Sort of coming down here, I'll lower down my cultivator again, and we'll have a look at that. There we go. So cultivated, fertilised, cultivated, not fertilised. So yeah, I think that, you know, this is a great fruit if you want to get into this, or fruit type I should say, with different mods. Multi-mower, green fertilizer mod, you can use it for various different things. You know, you can cut it and pick it up like grass. You may be able to adapt that, or you may choose to adapt that somewhat so that it doesn't pick up grass, it picks up something else, but that's entirely up to you. Fine with grass, and then chaff it, you get great return for what it costs to put into the field, and also then a cover crop, and then to use to cultivate in and fertilise your field. Hopefully I've gone through everything to a point where you can understand it, and you know, it'll give you perhaps maybe some information to go forward with either this fruit type or any other additional fruit type that you may choose to put into a map. One thing I would just note, if somebody has already attempted to do this, the mod creator perhaps, they may have different scripts within the folders that have got the additional fruits in, and they could cause conflicts. So you may want to go into some of the other scripts first and have a look in there, and just double check that they're not doubling up on fruit types, because if you've got two different types of scripts that will do the same thing, like I can't think of the ones now, but there's obviously the additional fruit type script which I've used to do this, but there's also another one which I think is just called fruit types, if I can't remember exactly, but it's a Lua script, and that also is used to add in different and additional fruit types. So you may need to go into that and delete the appropriate lines, or if you're not particularly bothered, because it is used for, I believe, chopped straw. So if you're not using the chopped straw mod, it might be, you know, beneficial to just delete either the script itself or the path file name in your mod desk, so that you don't get those kinds of conflicts. Yeah, one last thing I just want to show you. If we go into the actual info screen here, and we go over to our map view and our growth stages, you can see in field 8 it does show up that it is grown, and that's fine. And then if we go over to our fruit types, you can see that it does show up as alfalfa, and obviously the correct colour box, or a coloured box to symbolise what fruit is on the map there. So I think we're pretty much done with all of this. It's a success, which is really good. I've gone through, put the fruit type into the map with all of the correct scripts and everything else. Edited all of the mob desk and all the bits and pieces, the sample mod map, which actually didn't require any edits, but showed you how to do that if it did, or if it does require adding in the additional lines of text there. And then we've also gone in and I've shown you how to put the fruit type on a map in Giants Editor so that you have it there at the start of a new game save, and you will have to start a new game save. Anytime you add an additional fruit type like this, it will not accept it in an old game save. So you can't have a game save that's got any time at all against it and then expect to edit the map with a new fruit type and go straight back into that game save. It won't work. You will have to start a whole new game save. But that's unfortunately the limitations of the game, I guess. I don't know, but if you're going to make these kinds of changes, you're doing it for a reason. So starting a whole new game save is not really a big deal, in my opinion. So yeah, I think we're pretty much done there. We are done, actually. Yeah, I've got nothing really further to go into. So I really hope that this was of some help to you, and I shall catch you on the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Bye for now.